All right, so we're just under 2 weeks away from the Epsom Derby, one of the biggest races in the world. Actually, I've been to the race day the last 2 years, so it's a race that I hold a little bit close to my heart. It's such a good race. It's a great day out. Epsom Racecourse. I mean, you can only really see like half the track, but it's still cool when they come running down the hill into the straight, like around Tattenham Corner. I think that's what it's called. But yeah, we're getting close, and I think we've got a pretty good idea of, who the market leaders are going to be, and, some of the horses that, are bred to run the distance, some that might not get the distance. There's a lot of questions to be answered over the next few weeks. But we'll just have a look through the race. The current favourite is the Aidan O'Brien trained. What a shock. Benvenuto Cellini. Now, he's by Frankel out of Newspaper of Record, I think, something like that. And she's by Lope de Vega, who is, a bit of a miler, I believe. So I'll just double check that actually. But my consensus is that I can't fucking spell using one hand here though. My consensus is that I don't think Benvenuto is going to get the trip. He's by Frankel. Oh wait, no. To be fair, Lope de Vega won a French Derby, whatever. All right, whatever. Okay. My point is, I think Benvenuto is not going to get the trip. I think, he's by Frankel, which is all right, but he's out of Newspaper of Record. It was a Group 1 winning miler in America. So that doesn't really thrill me. And this horse is also a full sister to Giselle, who ran in the Oaks last year and clearly did not get the trip. So I think the jury's out on whether Benvenuto gets a mile and a half. I think he looked really good at Chester. And to be honest, I thought he looked a bit like August Rodin, the way he sort of, went about it, the way, he won the race. I thought, he's got that sort of August Rodin type vibe about him. But I honestly think Ryan's going to ride Pierre based on the pedigree, and I don't think Benvenuto will get the trip. It was just kind of annoying because, before I looked at his pedigree a bit closer, I thought Benvenuto was the one for this race. But I don't know. I think he might get found out over a really stiff mile and a half. And I think Pierre Bonnard's going to be the number one horse for Coolmore, just because he's by Camelot, out of a real staying family. So, and also I feel like since last year, since he won that Group 1 at Saint-Cloud, I know it's a shit Group 1 over a mile and a quarter. I think he's always been the sort of Derby prospect for that stable. I know Benvenuto won very well last start, but I just think Pierre, based on his pedigree and what the yard sentiment has been with him, I think Pierre's going to be the horse that will be the number one seed for Ballydoyle. We'll continue though. Obviously, Constitution River's very high up in the market. He won the D stakes at Chester very well. He did look very good. But I kind of thought, is he really an Epsom Derby horse? He's more of a French Derby horse. And that seems like the route that they're going to go with him. I mean, although on the weekend there was a real shift in the market where Constitution River was backed in massively for the Epsom Derby, and the chestnut horse Benvenuto backed for the French Derby. So I don't know what was going on there. Aidan O'Brien was very unclear with what. He was like he didn't know what was happening with them. So that's always confident. It's like a show of confidence when the trainer's like that. But whatever, that stable will normally do stuff like that. But yeah, it looks like the market's changed back, and I think Benvenuto got taken out of the French Derby, which was why, I believe. So it's apparent now which ones will go to each Derby. But we'll look away from Ballydoyle. We'll look at some of these other horses. So Item, he was seen winning the Dante Stakes quite well. I thought he looked quite good. I think he was a little bit green, but he won. It's a Group 2 at York, one of the main Derby lead-ups. I thought he won pretty well. But this preparing for this video has allowed me to take a closer look at these pedigrees, and I think Item's going to get. I think he's going to struggle over a mile and a half. He's very similar breeding to the favourite. He's by Frankel out of a Lope de Vega mare. And the mare was also a miler in America. So I think there's a real question behind Item and Benvenuto Cellini, whether they can get a mile and a half. And I think, as I said, I think Pierre's going to get Ryan Moore booked, and he's going to be the favourite in due course. But I'm not an anti-post bettor, so because I got burnt too many times last year. Just the worst one was ruling court in the Derby. I was on a 12-1, but that's a separate discussion. Now we'll look at some of these others. Maltese Cross, he's by Sea of the Stars. He will absolutely get a mile and a half at Epsom, I think. I mean, he did win, I think it was the Lingfield Derby trial pretty well. He looked pretty good. But I don't know. I don't know how strong that race was. But then again, like with these listed prep races for the Derby, they're all like, oh, how good are these horses? Probably not that good, but the winners usually go somewhere. And also, I think William Haggis, I could be wrong, but I feel like he hasn't really like targeted the Derby in recent years. But I guess now, he might not have had the horses. I guess he had economics one year, but he didn't. I think he had like issues, whatever. So I think Maltese Cross, being by Sea of the Stars, he's very interesting. I think he's pretty good. He might be one of my picks later on. I'm not too sure, but I think he's one of the top chances here based on his pedigree and what he's done so far. Now we'll continue down to some of the more sort of value plays here. James J. Braddock, owned by Kevin Blake, the TV reporter. I think he's like a racing planner for Joseph O'Brien. And obviously trained by Joseph O'Brien. He's by Zarak, this horse, so he'll get the distance, no problem. He's a proper stayer. And he beat Pierre Bonnard last start in that race at Leopardstown, I believe. So, he's very interesting, James J. Braddock. I think he's a massive chance, to be honest. It'd be interesting to see how between Pierre Bonnard and James J. Braddock, like which one goes better. Similar form lines. Bay of Brilliance, he was second to Maltese Cross at Lingfield. He's by New Bay, so he will have no issues as well. He should get 2,400 metres. And if we look further down, Ammo Racing have Ancient Egypt and Poker. Oh, God. What a mess. Not what a mess, Ancient Egypt. I think it's great that they're going for the Derby with him. He's by Frankel. Similar to some of these other horses, I don't know that he'll get the trip, but he's a beautiful, beautiful horse. He looks like Frankel down to a T, I reckon. He's a really nice horse. It seems they've sorted his temperament out a little bit. I remember in the post race after he won the race at Newmarket, they were saying how he was a bit flighty, a bit sort of just a colty 2-year-old. Now he returns as a 3-year-old. He's a bit more mature. And he won that race very well at Newmarket, I thought. He does look really good. I think he's more of a mile and a quarter horse. But obviously, Ammo Racing, they're in this for the big ones. They're not going to mess around. They're going to try and get them to the classics. So I think it's cool that he's going here. I think he has a good chance, but I don't think he'll win. Then if we look further down, I'm sure Aidan O'Brien will have, maybe one or two of these, other sort of good, mile, like middle distance horses. I'm not too sure which ones. I think Hawk Mountain will go to the French Derby with Christophe Soumillon. I think that's pretty obvious. But if we look at a few of these others, Christmas Day, I made a video a while back. It was like Aidan O'Brien horses that are flying under the radar, like 3-year-olds or something. And I remember Christmas Day was one that really caught my eyes because he's really well bred. He was favourite for the Dante, but didn't quite show up. But he might be the third stringer in the Derby because he's very he's absolutely bred for this distance. So I think he might be one for the like real exotics. And then we go further down, Turdy Tree, who's it's a bit of a shot in the dark here because he was last seen running in a novice race, so this will be like a massive step up. But obviously trained by Andrew Balding, they must think very, very highly of him. Although to be fair, with that yard already have Item in the race, so they probably won't. They might not go here with Turdy Tree. Now we'll keep going to just talk about some of these real exotic ones. Obviously Shayam, he's had a massive year, not results wise, but just doing a lot of travelling. He ran in the Saudi Derby on dirt. And then I believe he ran in like the Craven Stakes or one of those sort of like listed races, which he didn't really do that well in. And then I believe he ran in the German 2000 Guineas overnight. And I don't think he really fired there either. So, he probably won't go here as, he's just turned 3. That's a really busy schedule for a horse like him. So probably won't go here. And then Saxon Street, came second at Goodwood on the weekend, but that's not really the strongest, form race, I guess. And then we'll go further down. Poker was a ridiculously expensive yearling. I think Ammo spent something like really stupid on this horse, and hasn't done really anything since. And I think he's one of the lowest rated horses to ever enter for the Epsom Derby, I believe. So that's pretty cool. I guess he's just going to be an expensive pacemaker, putting the pace on for ancient Egypt. Even though Cornwall will have probably 2 pacemakers in the race, so there will be pace on. There always is pace on in like these classics. So yeah. And then obviously, you've got horses like Balzac, who is by Japan. He will get the distance, I think. I actually was on him in his last start at Lingfield in that Derby trial, because I thought the step up in distance. He had Sylvester de Souza on, who I love as a jockey. He's very good. But yeah, obviously got beat by 2 much classier horses in Bay of Brilliance and Maltese Cross. So yeah, I think there's no real. I don't know, some of these horses might jump out of the ground. Like, I remember last year at Epsom, I was on Lazy Griff at a stupid price, because I thought, he's by Protectionist, he's going to stay all day. And he ran an absolute blinder to come in second. I had him each way at like 150 to 1. But as I mentioned earlier, my main bet for that race was Ruling Court at 12 to 1, which I was on before the Guineas, because I thought, regardless of how he goes in the Guineas, like, he's going to be a force in the Derby, being by Justified. And yeah, I still to this day think he would have won the Derby, but obviously they pulled him because of the track, which, I still find a bit baffling, to be honest, because, it was a bit shifty, the track, but it's a fucking Epsom Derby. Like, just run the bloody horse. I think he would have won. And for me, Ruling Court as well, he was just criminally, like, what were they doing with that campaign? Like, it was pretty criminal what they did with him. I thought, they went from just, I just couldn't understand it. For me, he was a real mile and a quarter horse. They should have gone, Eclipse Stakes. They did, but they shouldn't have done that run in between in the St James's Palace, where he got fried by Field of Gold. So, I don't know, he's such a just talented horse that, I feel like wasn't, his preparation wasn't really it just was a shit prep, to be honest. I thought they should have gone for other races, but that's a bit away from the topic of today. But yeah, I think the 2 that I'm going to pick in the Derby, all depending on the desirable jockey bookings, is, well, there's 3 actually, but I'm going to have to narrow it down, because I only do 2 bets max for one race. Pierre Bonnard, if he gets Ryan Moore, he's definitely a bet, and I think he will. That's a really hot take, but I think he will, because he's by Camelot, has that real Derby pedigree, and Benvenuto doesn't have a Derby pedigree. So yeah, I think Pierre's going to be my number 1 pick if he gets Ryan on board. And then it's going to be a toss-up between Maltese Cross and James J. Braddock. Both horses bred for a Derby, especially the latter. He is by Zarak, who's a French stallion. Although he might stand in Ireland, I'm not too sure. But Zarak has had a lot of like jumping horses and proper long distance horses, so he will stay all day. And I like Kevin Blake too. I think he's a really good reporter. Knows an absolute shitload about horse racing. So it'd be cool to see him win a Derby, as I think he might be like one of the bigger owners in this horse. He might be the sole owner, I'm not too sure, but yeah, I hope this horse runs like a really big race. And then Maltese Cross as well, he's by Sea the Stars, and did win very well at Lingfield. Although I'd question how strong that race is form wise, but he's put the pen to the paper, and he's got to win in a main Derby lead-up race. So yeah, it should be an interesting 2 weeks to see how this market changes. And if you like these sorts of videos, just like and subscribe. I normally do like racing previews, that sort of thing. Just have a look at my channel. And yeah, follow me on Twitter, that sort of thing. And I'll see you later.